So good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here again. Welcome to the South Summit. So, the whole thing started again. New whole day of big things. Our front of stage here, full with conferences. Upstairs, you've got the workshops at the startup school, the innovation stage, and a lot of networking. What a lovely day. I'm really sorry. You must be saying they tricked us. Come to the South. Let's prove to the world the bright side. Yeah, shit happens. So really, stick with us, and sorry, but it's going to be awesome. The next panel is about the future of ventures, corporate ventures, and open innovation. This summit is a lot about that. It's not just about investors and startups. We include the corporate side, multiplying the opportunities for the startups to find partnerships, to find investors, to find opportunities. And we're living in a world that's changed rapidly, and the corporations have realized that the only way to respond to the needs of the market is by working together with the best source of talent, of innovation, and of technology, which is you, the startups. So we have now an amazing panel with Mutua Madrileña, which is doing an amazing job here in Spain, trying to open the doors of their innovation departments, with Telefonica, Open Future, who has led the way in Spain, and not only in Spain, to be one of the first to realize that they needed to be supporting the startups as a win-win situation to really grow bigger future companies. And then we have Dyan Finkhousen, the head of open innovation at General Electric, at GE. It's amazing to have her here, and we're really happy as GE has led the way to be one of the most innovative corporations for the last century. It's not easy to say that. So welcome this panel, and welcome Juan José Güemes, who is going to be chairing it.
¿Dónde queráis? Okay, here we are. Let me introduce you to Ana Segurado. Ana Segurado is the Telefónica's corporate venture capital fund manager, and Fernando Bueno, who is the chief of innovation at Mutua Madrileña, an insurance company, and Dyan Finkhousen, head of open innovation at General Electric. Dyan, is it your first time in a bullfight ring?
Yes, not my last.
Not your last, okay. But today the ring is not for fighting. It is a space to share ideas, to spend time with entrepreneurs and innovators, and to talk about something we all love, which is entrepreneurship, innovation, and how big corporations can leverage on the startup ecosystem to take the most of it and to foster innovation within the companies. For the most, innovation inside an existing company is something that only happens after a huge effort, and it is seen as something which is not repeatable, as something which cannot be done by design. I would like to ask you about this, and if we can somehow make it happen by design, and what stops big corporation from being more innovative. Who likes to take it?
It's a great question. I think that innovation is by definition, it's new, right? So it is the definition or the creation of novel approaches, novel processes, the application of new technologies, new materials, new thought processes, but we believe very strongly, and we live by the fact that innovation can be a process by design. And we've spent a lot of time thinking what approaches, what innovation processes can help keep us young, right? And encourage fresh thinking and risk-taking, but yet introduce changes to our business that are scalable, that are repeatable. And so we have developed a framework that encourages risk-taking and experimentation. We spend a lot of time working with startups and entrepreneurs to look at the world through a different lens and to really challenge ourselves to think differently about how we solve problems. So we have a framework. It works very well. It's repeatable, and we have applied that framework to introduce innovation to a very diverse range of businesses. We work with our aviation business, our healthcare business, our energy business, and all of the industries that GE serves, to look at those markets and those worlds through very different lenses, partnering with customers, partnering with entrepreneurs, and other thought leaders, policymakers, to try to reimagine outcomes for those industries. Many of the markets that we serve are challenged, and everyone's trying to do more with less these days. The world is full of opportunities, but also full of resource constraints. So we're working very closely with startups who can teach GE how to be more agile and be more comfortable taking risks, and to look at our customers' challenges from their point of view. And then we are able to apply the domain expertise that we have in-house and come up with new solutions, right? Innovative, disruptive solutions to create new pools of opportunity for our customers and our businesses in these markets. It's very exciting, but it is a process that we apply to very diverse markets. So.
Anna?
Okay. I think that for big corporations as Telefonica or GE or even Mutua it's difficult to generate internal innovation as bureaucracy and processes, internal processes sometimes kill innovation. So open innovation is becoming critical for all of big corporations to really identify and get innovation inside our organizations. Another problem I identify in big corporations is that from the human resources areas, we don't have the correct processes and the correct ways to identify innovation talent and identify the most creativity people among employees. And on one side, it's not easy to identify the most talented people for this innovation activity. And on the other side, there are not the correct procedures to reward innovation among big corporations. So that's why open innovation as a way of get innovation from outside our corporation and bring it inside our corporation to be more innovative is becoming critical for us.
What about you, Fernando?
Well, you have said a lot of things about that, but for me there are two important barriers. The first one for companies, big companies, is the success. These companies have had a successful strategy, which has got to grow a lot, and the executives are focusing on short-term actions, not long-term actions, optimizing the business, not trying to disrupt the business. I think this is one of the main barriers. The executives ask, why do we need that? Why do we need to innovate, to incorporate other actors in the innovation area, for example, for outside the company and so on? We know how to do things. We are profitable, make money. We don't need that. I think this is one of the main barriers for me. And the second barrier is fear of cannibalization. I name it the Kodak effect. The people is very fearful about how the disruptive products or new offerings is going to affect to the current business. And they don't like these kind of things. They always say, hey, what happens with our main flow of money? So for me, these are two things very important you must overcome in order to make working open innovation in a company.
So it seems that big companies focus so much on being efficient, and they establish policies and procedures and KPIs and all of those things obviously help them to do things every day better. But they're working on a proven business model. But when it comes to do something different, somehow those same tools that are used to be more efficient can also become an impediment for continuous innovation. Is that right? Dyan?
Yes, they're focusing on optimizing. It's what KPIs do for you, but not in doing something completely new.
And what can we do about that? I mean, how can we change that? Can we redesign big corporations?
It's complex to redesign big corporations, no?
Can you go to the financial team and tell, hey, look at this? I mean, you should look at the long run.
Yes. Well, I can go to every chief and say whatever I want. But the problem is that they pay attention to me, no? But you must understand, they are very focused in the term, in the quarter, and most of these things are not related to the quarter, to the next quarter, no? So the KPIs, the financial results, the sales are more related to what I'm going to do tomorrow, and this is the day after tomorrow. That is a problem. How can we change that? I think, like every cultural change, you must begin small, try, learn, with the learning correct your errors, and it's getting bigger, increasing the scope of the program in order to get the organization follow you. And in the midterm, it's not easy anyway. We don't have easy, nominally, we don't have this problem because we have the support of the top management, including the chairman, but the day-to-day business is an obstacle to all that. So you must fight, act as a psychologist sometimes in the organization. You must do a lot of things. It's like a catalyst. No? You're from industrial. We have an industrial company.
Well, I think there is something which is obvious, is that startups innovate better and faster than big corporations. So I think no one has doubt about that. Why is this happening? I think on one hand we have what I mentioned before, the bureaucracy and the processes of big corporations are not prepared to foster innovation. But there is another factor which is difficult to change. Startups need to innovate to keep alive, and I mean it's critical to offer the best for not dying. I mean, they need to gain clients, they need to grow, they need to compete, otherwise they will die. So that this pressure is what I think makes a startup innovate so fast and such in a clever way. Big corporations don't have this pressure, so although we have talented people for innovate, I think the pressure they have is different, and sometimes that makes big corporation innovate lower and worse than startups.
Well, that's a very interesting point. Dyan, do you think that innovation inside an existing company is harder than in a startup?
That's a great question. I think innovation is, it presents unique challenges for startups and large corporations. I think some of the challenges may be different in each organization. It's easy for larger organizations to focus more on those mature, kind of high volume production KPIs, right? And focus on different success metrics. But then too, I think that allows big companies to get a little bit more comfortable, right? And maybe stop challenging themselves to continue to grow and innovate. So we focus very much in our organization. We're a big company, many small companies within a big company, and we're challenging ourselves to, again, learn from our startup peers and take more risks, run more experiments. And for those experiments, we are, in many cases, we're setting them up in different kind of operating business models where they focus more on learning metrics rather than the large-scale mature business KPIs. And so that is allowing us to behave more like entrepreneurs in many of the more innovative initiatives in our organization. So we're learning, we're taking a lot of best practices from the startup community, applying learning metrics and growth metrics to our innovation initiatives, and then allowing our mature business lines to continue to operate against those kind of very mature KPI success metrics. And so I think that's our innovation definition of success and operating culture for a large organization. Of course, I would defer to our colleagues here in the audience to maybe share their perspective regarding what success looks like and what KPIs make the most sense in startups. But I think startups are more willing to kind of pivot, right? Learn more quickly and pivot and establish new direction or new success metrics as they learn. And so much more agile as you scale up your vision, right? So that new product, that new business venture that you've developed, I think you're closer to your market, and you're taking your cues from how the market is responding to your offering, and you're pivoting and refining a lot more quickly probably than a larger organization might. So we're trying to take a lot of best practices from watching you and learning with you.
So despite the huge amount of resources that big companies dedicate to innovation, since that you three agreed that it is much easier to innovate from a poor startup without resources at all. No? Is that right?
Yeah.
I think.
Could be an interesting conclusion. I'm going to open, I'm inviting you to ask any questions you like. You have three people with a huge experience in corporate innovation and who are dealing every day with the startup ecosystem. So I will go to the next question, but think about your question, and you're invited to ask. So what can we learn from startups?
What can we learn?
What can we learn to foster innovation in big companies?
Well, we can learn a lot of things, no? We can learn the teamwork, the real teamwork, to achieve a common objective, not my functional objective or my business unit objective. We can learn from the mindset, the disruptive mindset. It's very difficult to change that in big corporations. The agility of the startups, the bureaucracy in the big corporations makes you spend a lot of time launching the new offering or even identifying new opportunities. It's very complex. Perhaps we have anyway the corporation have another advantage is who are resources, knowledge, access to markets, some little things important for innovation. But I think the more important thing is the agility. And the big corporation, as bigger, is less difficult to develop a continuous flow of innovations and put them in the market because they don't fit in the system portfolio, because existing executives doesn't like it, or just bureaucracy, approvals, and so on.
Anna, what about Telefonica?
Well,
What did you learn from
think
startups? Let me tell you that Telefonica is one of the Spanish companies which has dedicated more resources to scout and to be very close to the startups. They have Guaira, which is an incubator now established in 13 countries. 13 countries. I was in the opening of the first one in Bogotá and then many others. You have been dealing and supporting with something like 200, 300 startups through Guaira. But you do many other things to get closer to startups. But what have you learned from that?
I mean, Telefonica is in the technological sector. For us, it's critical to bring innovation from outside because things change every day. So we cannot innovate at the speed the market is asking us for. So we have to complement our internal R&D processes and innovation with innovation coming from outside. So we are very aware of that, and we have developed, as you mentioned, different instruments to bring startups and to work with startups in order to push innovation and do things together. So in that way, we have the Guaira initiative, which is a network of accelerator looking for seed startups and seed opportunities. Then we have the network of VC funds, which is Amérigo, and the corporate venture fund, which are both focused in growth opportunities with different sector focus, but both in growth opportunities. And what can I see in startups and what we have to learn from them? Well, I think they have very talented people, very committed with their own projects, and very focused on results. So these are three characteristics which makes that, makes innovation easier. So apart from that, I think they look for opportunities with a very open mind, and they do things out of the box. You sometimes have to break the rules and look at an approach to the problems with an open mind, and sometimes in big corporations are so focused in our own business that it's difficult to have this view to see opportunities doing things different.
Breaking the rules sounds good. Dyan, what can you learn? What can we learn from big corporations when it comes to innovation from startups?
Yeah, I would share some of the same perspectives that we've just heard. I think that that we take a lot of inspiration from startups in the willingness and the comfort level to look at the world through a very different lens, to experiment, try different things, and learn as you go, and then refine your approach very quickly. And I think that gives you the ability to kind of align yourself very quickly, very effectively, very easily with your target markets and with your target customers. You have that incredible focus and that agility, and we're learning from that, and we're taking that back into our own business approach as well. And then as we conversely, as we work with startups, we work extensively with startups and entrepreneurs. It's a very, very healthy kind of a good experience for both of us. As they grow their businesses, we're able to share, conversely, our experience with them regarding how to kind of begin to scale those visions and those startup organizations into larger organizations. So we can share our experience with, more process rigor and how you develop a scaled organization. So it's a very good relationship that we share with the startups with whom we partner. We're constantly kind of challenging each other, learning from each other, but it's a very very beneficial, healthy relationship with the many entrepreneurs with whom we partner. So hopefully we'll continue to learn and grow with them.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the audience? Not for now. Okay, so despite the huge resources that corporate... Okay, go ahead.
All right, thank you. I'm Shaheen from spotahome.com. We're a startup, and it's the easiest way for expats to book rental housing in a new city when they're moving abroad. My question is, how do you guys choose which startups you work with? And what value do you bring to them? And also, what are some examples of success stories that you've had so far? Thanks.
Who likes to go first?
Let's you first.
Oh, okay. So it's a great question, and we work with many. Typically, we will choose to work with startups who have visions and products and plans that are well aligned with the businesses, the various business teams. So as an example, our healthcare team will work with partners who may bring new technologies or new approaches that are very well aligned with our vision for where we'd like to go in those markets. Same thing with our aviation industry. We are spending more and more of our time really across the businesses, but with aviation as an example, looking at how we might be able to apply the industrial internet to improve our customers' outcomes. So as an example, we spend a lot of time thinking about how we can apply data-based software and software-enabled services to help the airlines and ultimately the passengers in the aviation industry. So whereas our tradition has largely been in aviation equipment, developing and supporting aviation equipment, we're now building out software-enabled services in the aviation industry. So we're looking for a lot of partnerships that bring those areas of expertise to the aviation business. And the same holds true with our energy business, with our healthcare business, our power business, where we find startups that have complementary visions or capabilities, we look for partnerships there.
In our case, what we try to do is to complete the solutions we offer to our clients, both corporate clients or residential clients, with the products or services that different startups has brought to the market, and include them in our offer and integrate with our solutions to give better products to our clients. But I must say that this is not easy. In the activity of bringing outside innovation in big corporation, you have two challenges to face. The first one is to identify the best companies and being capable of attracting it to your organization. So close a transaction with them, close a commercial agreement, close a corporate deal in which you enter in their equity. So selecting the best one, the one that matches the best with your business is not easy, but it's possible. But making them grow independently and scale up those companies and at the same time extract all the value that this company can offer to you and give them also the proper help is almost magic. I think there's not a formula to do that, and we are exploring different ways of approaching startups and making things together, both on the commercial side, both on the R&D development. But I must say that this is difficult, and I think none of us has the formula to the success.
Fernando, how La Mutua tries to leverage on the startup ecosystem to find...
Well, we are trying. We are trying.
Well,
it's a way. We began with open innovation in 2010. We began with a program of open innovation with employees. Then we passed it to customers, added the customers, and then we began to work with providers and startups. This is the last move we have made in the last year. So we are at the very beginning of that. What we look for in the startups things we can provide by ourselves quickly. For example, complete our value proposition to customers linked to lifestyles, for example. We are an insurance company working for individuals, so value-added services to families, value-added services to motorcycle or car drivers, things like that. We look for new ways of distribution, of insurance distribution, of serving our customers. And we look for methods and technologies to enhance our process, our business processes, to do the same thing, but the different form. And finally, because we are a mutual company, we look for projects linked to social responsibility, corporate social responsibility. So these are the main ways we are trying to collaborate with startups.
So Dyan and Fernando, here you have many entrepreneurs, so it is your chance to challenge them by telling them what kind of startups and innovators are you looking for?
Fernando, I would defer to you and build on it.
Maybe you can spend some time in Madrid giving a lecture and making a deal. Who knows?
I'd love that, absolutely. Well, let me maybe share some examples, and maybe this will spur some conversation. What we love to do is partner very closely with startups to create new types of outcomes and improved outcomes for our customers, right? Or create new markets, right? New value pools and new markets that may not have existed. And I'll share a very specific example where we've seen this model work really, really well. And this may be familiar to some of you, but we have, within the past year, established a partnership. My mic. Oh, there we go. With a couple of startups in our appliances division. So if everyone is familiar with GE appliances, we have a very, very long tradition of providing consumer appliances and a very mature manufacturing process. And so in our conversations with startups, we have challenged ourselves, and they've challenged us to be more nimble and to have a much closer dialogue with our customers and try to reinvent the way we make appliances and launch new appliance products. And so we have, in the past year, established a partnership with a company called Local Motors. I apologize, I'm losing my mic. But a company called Local Motors, it's a small organization based in Phoenix in the States, and they are a crowd-sourced company and also provide small batch manufacturing and rapid prototyping. We have also partnered with the University of Louisville, so it's a three-party relationship with a startup and a university, and the goal of this partnership is to introduce new appliances not in 3 years, but in 6 months, which for GE in this line of business, it was kind of an extraordinary goal. And so we just established a micro factory in Louisville on the campus of the University of Louisville, whereby we are crowdsourcing designs, new ideas for new appliances, and we're running those ideas through this new small batch manufacturing rapid prototyping facility, and in fact introducing new products in months, not years. And so it's those types of paradigm shifts that we're looking for in our mature industrial businesses. How can we challenge ourselves to bring all the strengths of the entrepreneurs and the startups, the agility, the risk-taking, the fresh thinking, the proximity to kind of new perspectives, and reinvent the way we do business so we can encourage growth, we can create new value pools, and we can transform our markets and our customer outcomes. So it's those kind of partnerships that we're really looking for across the board. Okay.
Anna?
Well, for Telefonica, in terms of industry focus, the technology sector is very wide, and we are looking for opportunities in many different sectors. I mean, in most of the digital areas, we are looking for startups. But in terms of the startup situation, as I mentioned before, we make investment and we make agreements. We close agreements with startups in a early stage, in a early stage or in a seed stage. We also make close agreements with growth startups which are in a growth stage, and we have examples of business-to-consumer startups, business-to-business startups, which has entered in our initiatives. I think, the goal here is to make the startup growth at the same time as we generate growth to be close to this startup. And for me, the easiest, the startups in which this is more easy to get is when we identify a business-to-business startup which is in a growth stage. It has a product or a service in the market. They are not in the stage of developing the product, but they already have the product, but they have difficulties to reach to corporate clients. It's very difficult for a startup, at least in Spain, to close transactions and to close agreements with big corporations. There's a question of reputation and size, which make it very difficult. So I think Telefonica, in these cases, is a great partner, as we can offer them a lot of commercial opportunities. We can go together to big clients. So we benefit from a very innovative product, which completes our solution and our offer to the clients, and they can grow because they can reach to big clients and has commercial opportunities. So I think this is the kind of situation in which it's very easy to have advantages for both the startup and also Telefonica.
So you're telling me that once you invest in a startup, you call the business people and you tell them, follow me, help me to grow this startup, and they follow you?
Well, I think the process is a bit different. We identify in which areas we are most interested in identifying products or solutions to complete our own developments. Then, we search in the market which startups fits better with our strategy and with our developments. And yes, we usually try to get a stake in the equity of those companies, because it's a way of having a narrow relation with the company and having a very close relation with them. And at the same time, we work on the commercial development, working with the people of the operating business, identifying commercial opportunities, and trying to bring this product to our offer. So this is the process.
Any more questions?
Toby Lewis, Global Corporate Venturing, a media provider which tracks how corporates invest in venture. I was wondering sort of what success looked like for your various sort of open innovation divisions. Can you sort of share any examples of the sort of kind of scale of business that you're able to create with these partnerships, and if there is sort of any concrete examples of that?
Examples of success?
Yeah.
Well, in my case, for instance, we are doing very interesting things with some startups in the security or cyber security sector. We have, for instance, a deal with a startup which name is Bluelip. We took a stake in that startup. Using our Amérigo fund, which is managed by Kibo. So Kibo took a stake in the equity. Also, our corporate venture fund took a stake in this startup. And we are now offering the product of the startup to our clients with a lot of success. We are generating internal sales for Telefonica, and they are growing at a high speed. And having access to clients that probably if they were alone, they couldn't reach. So this is an example.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. It's a great example, and we have many really exciting stories to share as well in our partnerships with startups. I think the most recent success we've had with a startup partnership is the Local Motors and University of Louisville. Like I said, we set up the micro factory on the university campus in March, and I was there 2.5 weeks ago, and I saw new appliances, new first build appliances on the floor on my tour. So the speed to market, that commercial intensity is extraordinary. And so that's, we're looking for that commercial intensity and that innovation, as that is our definition of success in these partnerships in many cases. We also, again, you may have heard of this partnership as well, but we are partnering with another company called Quirky, which is a really wonderful startup, again, in the crowdsourcing arena, and love this partnership, love this business model. They have been looking at our portfolio of consumer products and frankly IP with us, and pushing the products and the IP out to their crowd, their community, and encouraging their community to help us innovate and test and validate and refine new products. And so we're working very closely with them on our new line of LED lighting, which is really a global phenomenon. The lighting industry is going through a new renaissance, and we're really enjoying the results of this partnership with Quirky to explore how we can develop and introduce new intelligent lighting systems for the consumer arena. And the most recent line of lighting that has run through this partnership has already sold out. They've been pre-marketing it through Quirky, and it will retail through some of our big box retail partners, and it's already sold off the shelves. So again, it's that commercial intensity and that innovation and that ability to kind of refine on the fly the product innovation, and it's been so successful. We'd love to take that blueprint to more and more of our businesses to spur growth. Take these industries where we have sold big equipment, big iron types of products, and really redefine what growth looks like in mature markets with mature industries.
So Anna, many of them are looking for funds for these startups. Why should they try to get in touch with you, a corporate fund, instead of going somewhere else? What are the pros and cons?
Well, I think big corporations as investors in startups offer advantages and also disadvantages to entrepreneurs. I think on the positive side, I think we offer a lot of business support, commercial opportunities, knowledge of the industry, which can be very useful for them. And also we can share technology and make developments together. Another positive advantage is that sometimes we are prepared to pay for the potential synergies we identify in those startups. So perhaps we are not so hard negotiating the price that a traditional financial VC. But I mean, we also have disadvantages. Probably the processes to close a transaction with a big corporation is slower than with a traditional VC. Because our internal processes for approval are more complex and more slowly. The follow-up of the company in terms of following the performance and the financial KPIs and the business plan is not so narrow in our case because we are more focused on the business, we are more focused on the development of the product and the commercial aspect and not in the financial KPIs. So I think the pressure of a traditional VC for a startup is good to be able to offer the best and do the best with the money they manage. So we traditionally stay for longer in the equity of the startups. We are not in a hurry for divesting if we find a good opportunity. If there is a good strategic fit, we remain in the equity of the company for a longer period. And sometimes we can also offer the opportunity to bring another interesting investors to the equity of those startups.
Dyan, it seems to me amazing that you're currently running something like 50 process of open innovation, challenging entrepreneurs and innovators all around the world. But I wonder, how do you balance the conventional, let's say, open innovation function with this effort of being almost everywhere, getting ideas from everywhere?
Great question. Great question. It's we have a long tradition of in GE generations of very high quality closed innovation that leads to very high quality high volume production, and so the answer is balance, right? So we are applying open innovation and partnering with the external innovators and entrepreneurs, and we're bringing that fresh perspective and innovation into our development process, our innovation process, to complement what we do internally. We define open innovation as both internal and external innovation. We are a diversified organization, so a power generation engineering team may look to collaborate with engineering teams and other divisions to bring that fresh perspective into the power generation innovation process. And so we define open innovation as both internal and external collaboration opportunities. We are expanding our use of the open innovation tools and projects, 50 and growing, hopefully. But the key is to make sure that we maintain our trajectory and our priorities, our business priorities that we've committed to, but then we begin to accelerate those and expand those priorities by partnering with innovators outside of the GE community. So it's intended to accelerate and expand our business priorities and the outcomes that we can deliver for our customers. But the key is balancing, right? Do no harm, expand and accelerate.
Do we have any other questions from the audience?
Hi. The question is for Dyan. How do you see the Internet of Things evolving within the industrial side of GE?
Great question. So the Internet of Things is such an exciting space right now. We have committed completely to the Internet of Things and have established a business unit in San Ramon to really help us layer industrial internet solutions across all of our industrial businesses. And I think that to answer your question very specifically, the Internet of Things will transform the way business gets done in a multitude of industries, ranging from healthcare to aviation. it's just, it is enabling intelligent decisioning, basically software and software-enabled services to create these decision support tools that will help operators and corporate executives alike really optimize, re-optimize complete systems, whether those are manufacturing systems or aviation systems or healthcare systems, creating a frictionless patient experience. There are so many ways to collect and use data to create insights and to create decision support systems that will help people and businesses completely rethink the way that they deliver business services. So it's really exciting.
Thank you. We have to go, but before that, I would ask you to give a 30 seconds conclusion, your own conclusion on startups, big corporations, and innovation. Starting with Anna, for example.
No, I think the main message I would like to express is that corporations need startups. They are critical for our growth, and I think the joint and the alliance with a startup can bring a lot of value for both the startup and the big corporation.
Fernando?
Well, I think startups shouldn't think about corporations only as a provider of funds, but as a partner to do business together. I think it's another way of growing and to getting cash. And I think corporations should think in the same way, not only I invest or not invest in that business, but is this business attractive to work with me, with my existing business, or with my new business I want to attack? I think something we should change our way of thinking, not only as an investment, but as how it fits with our strategy.
Yeah. Yep.
Maestro, otro paso doble. Para Dyan. Y un fuerte aplauso, por favor. Muchísimas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Encantado, Ana. Encantado, te doy.